we're here to really get to the core of what makes things tick.
That's the plan.
And today, we're looking at something I find fascinating, these unspoken rules. The ones that seem to, guide things in life and business.
Absolutely. They're not written down anywhere, are they? But boy, do they matter.
They really do. It feels like understanding them gives you a kind of hidden advantage.
Exactly. And we've been looking at a discussion that, well, it pulled out 7 key ones. Really insightful stuff.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then, to properly get our heads around these 7 rules.
Yeah, understand them. Figure out why they're so powerful.
And maybe give folks some concrete ways to actually use them, like right away.
That's the goal. Let's jump right in.
All right, where do we start?
Okay, rule number 1. Underpromise, overdeliver.
Yes. A classic. We've all heard it, but let's unpack it. What's the real power here? It's more than just being quick, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's about psychology. It's how our brains handle expectations versus reality. Think about it. If someone says they'll do something amazing and they just do it, the reaction's often kind of flat. Like, okay, they did what they said.
Just met expectations. No big deal.
Exactly. But if you manage those expectations, maybe set them a little conservatively, and then you exceed them, that creates a real spark, a positive jolt.
I actually saw this happen not long ago. Had a client project, told them end of the week.
Okay.
But I finished it Tuesday, sent it over Wednesday morning. The email back wasn't just thanks. It was like really enthusiastic.
See, it wasn't just the early delivery.
No, it felt like it was the surprise. Delivering before I said I would. It genuinely felt like it strengthened the whole relationship.
That's it. It's what psychologists call positive expectation disconfirmation. Yeah. Our brains react much more strongly to pleasant surprises.
Better than expected is way more powerful than just as expected.
Way more. And that positive feeling, that little dopamine hit, builds trust really effectively. It makes you seem more reliable, more capable.
So a practical tip here could be maybe pad your deadlines a bit.
Yeah, that's a great, simple way to do it. If you think it takes 5 days, maybe say 7. Or add like a 20% buffer.
Gives you breathing room.
Yeah.
And the chance to create that wow moment.
Exactly. Turns a mad delivery into something memorable. And that reputation boost, that compounds over time. Huge asset.
Okay, so the quick takeaway, something like underpromise, then surprise by delivering sooner or bigger every time.
Nailed it. That's the essence.
All right, moving on. Rule number 2 sounds just as crucial. Build the relationship before the deal.
Oh, this one is fundamental, especially today. In the rush to close, to hit targets, it's so easy to forget the human element.
But long-term success, it really relies on that connection, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Think about your own experiences. Who do you prefer working with? Someone who just sees you as a number or someone you actually connect with?
No contest, really. I think we've all been on the receiving end of a cold pitch that just feels transactional.
Right. Compare that to when someone's taken the time to understand you, build some rapport. It's night and day.
There's a story we looked at. Lisa spent 6 months just connecting with people.
Yeah, just building relationships, no hard selling.
And the result was significant contracts down the line, wasn't it? Because the trust was already there.
Exactly. It contrasts so starkly with just blasting out generic emails or calls. That rarely works anymore.
So what's an actionable step here? How do you build relationships genuinely?
One great tactic is scheduling, well, no agenda calls or calls.
No agenda.
The goal isn't to sell anything. It's genuinely just to connect. Understand their challenges, their world, what they're working on. Offer help if you can, but without expecting anything immediately back.
Just being interested in them as a person, basically.
Pretty much. It taps into that core human need for connection. People ultimately buy from people they like and trust. Often that rapport matters more than features or even price.
It's the long game.
Absolutely. Invest the time in people.
Okay, the takeaway then, invest time in people. The deal follows genuine human connection.
Perfectly put.
Right, rule 3. This one feels very relevant to, well, everyone trying to get stuff done. Manage your energy, not just time.
Yes. This is such a critical shift in thinking. We're obsessed with calendars and to-do lists, managing time.
Squeezing every minute.
Right. But we often completely ignore our own energy levels. You know, the natural peaks and troughs we all have during the day.
And that energy level dramatically impacts what we can actually achieve in that time.
Hugely. I used to be guilty of this back-to-back meetings. forcing myself through complex tasks when I was already drained.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Hitting a wall mid-afternoon.
Totally. Then I started really paying attention. When am I sharpest? When do I have the most focus?
And aligning tasks accordingly.
Exactly. Blocking out my peak focus time, usually mid-morning for me, for the really demanding high concentration work. Simpler stuff, emails, calls, they go into the lower energy periods.
And a difference.
Night and day, more gets done, better quality work. And honestly, my mood is way better too. Less frustration.
So guarding that peak focus time is key. Treat it like your most valuable resource.
Definitely. The actionable tip here is pretty straightforward. Identify your personal power hour, or maybe it's 2 hours.
When you consistently feel most alert and productive.
Right. Then block it in your calendar,
Yeah.
make it sacred, non-negotiable time for your top priorities.
What's the psychology behind why this works so well?
It relates to achieving a flow state. You know, that feeling of being fully immersed and energized by a task.
Right, losing track of time.
Exactly. You're much more likely to hit that state when you match a challenging task to your peak energy window. It's about working with your natural rhythms, not against them.
Makes sense. So the short version. Align high-energy tasks with your peak focus window every day.
You got it.
Okay, rule 4 shifts focus to interaction and leadership style. Lead by asking questions, not giving answers.
This is subtle but incredibly powerful. It's about shifting from a directive approach to a more coaching collaborative style.
Instead of telling people what to do.
You ask questions that help them figure it out themselves or figure it out together.
I've tried to consciously do this more in team meetings. Instead of jumping in with my solution when someone raises a problem,
US.
questions like, okay, what are the main roadblocks here? Or what are some options we could explore?
And what happens?
It totally changes the dynamic. People lean in more, they start brainstorming, you get way more buy-in, and often, frankly, better ideas than mine.
That's exactly it. Asking questions turns passive listeners into active co-creators. It fosters ownership. People feel more invested in solutions they helped shape.
It empowers them, right?
Absolutely. So a simple action. Try replacing just one directive you might normally give each day with an open-ended question.
Like using who, what, how, why questions.
Precisely. Instead of update the report, try what's the best way to get this report updated by Friday?
Okay. Is there a brain science angle to this?
Yeah, quite interestingly, open-ended questions activate the prefrontal cortex, the thinking, problem-solving part of the brain. It literally engages people more deeply than just receiving instructions.
Cool. So, takeaway. Use open-ended questions to engage brains and spark collaboration.
That captures it perfectly.
Right, on to number 5. This one requires a bit of a mindset shift. Embrace micro failures for macro success.
Yeah, this challenges the traditional view of failure as something to be avoided at all costs.
Instead, it's saying small failures are good.
Well, not good in themselves, but incredibly valuable. They're data points. They tell you what's not working so you can adjust.
Learning opportunities, basically.
Exactly. Think of them as small, controlled experiments. We looked at that example of the first webinar attempt that didn't go so well.
Right, very few attendees. Could have been really discouraging.
It could have. But instead of just giving up, the person running it interviewed the few people who did show up.
Ask them what worked, what didn't.
Yep. Got specific feedback. Use that data to completely redesign the next webinar.
Which was much more successful.
Significantly more. That initial failure provided the exact roadmap needed for improvement. It wasn't failure. It was market research, essentially.
Okay, so how do we put this into practice? It feels a bit counterintuitive.
A simple habit. After any project, big or small, consciously list maybe 3 things that didn't work or could have gone better.
And then,
Crucially, figure out why they didn't work and what specific change you'll make next time to address it. Turn the reflection into action.
so it's not just dwelling on mistakes, it's extracting the lesson.
Precisely. Psychologically, this reframing is powerful too. Seeing setbacks as learning reduces the overall fear of failure. It makes you more willing to try new things.
Because a small stumble isn't the end of the world, it's just data.
Exactly. So the takeaway. Collect tiny failures, learn fast, and iterate toward breakthrough success.
I like that. Okay, rule 6 is about something intangible but vital. Guard your reputation. It's your currency.
Absolutely crucial. Your reputation is built slowly, brick by brick, through consistent actions, trust, integrity.
But it can be damaged really quickly, right?
Devastatingly quickly. And once trust is broken, rebuilding it is Incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible.
We discussed an anecdote, didn't we? Someone taking a shortcut.
Yeah, a colleague took a technical shortcut on a project, seemed minor at the time, saved a bit of effort.
But
Then, a bug related to that shortcut surfaced publicly, caused a major issue for clients.
ouch.
And the damage to that person's credibility, their reputation within the company and even industry, it was significant and lasted a long time. Far longer than the time saved by the shortcut.
It underlines that consistency matters. Doing the right thing, even when it's harder.
Every single time. Because trust is the foundation.
So, a practical check. Something to keep in mind.
Before you make a significant decision or put out any public communication, an email, a post, a comment, ask yourself, would I be happy to stand by this in 5 years?
That's a good filter. Forces a long-term perspective.
It does. And there's a psychological reason reputations are fragile. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, partly. We tend to remember unfinished tasks, or, in this case, mistakes and negative events more vividly than successes.
So slip-ups stick in people's minds.
Unfortunately, yes. They often overshadow a lot of good work.
Okay, the core message. Your reputation precedes you. Protect it fiercely with consistent integrity.
Couldn't say it better.
All right, we're at the final rule, number 7, and it's about a fundamental skill. Listen twice as much as you speak.
Sounds simple, maybe even cliché, but it's profoundly important for effective communication, leadership, negotiation, everything really.
It's about truly hearing what someone else is saying, not just waiting for your turn to jump in.
Exactly. Active, deep listening. Understanding the meaning behind the words.
You mentioned using silence in negotiations. How does that work?
It can be incredibly powerful. After you state your position or ask a question, just pause. Be comfortable with the silence.
Resist the urge to fill it.
Right. Often, the other person feels compelled to fill that silence. And what they say in that moment can be incredibly revealing their real concerns, priorities, maybe where they have flexibility.
You gain information you wouldn't have otherwise gotten.
Exactly. Silence creates space. It shows you're actually processing what they said, and it encourages them to elaborate. It signals respect for their input.
So, a practical exercise for this.
Try this in your next conversation. After the other person finishes speaking, consciously pause for, say, 4 seconds before you respond.
Just count to 4 in your head.
Yep. It might feel slightly awkward at first, but it ensures you've actually heard them, processed it, and it gives them a chance to add anything else. You'll be surprised what emerges in that little gap.
And the psychology. Why does silence draw people out?
It taps into the law of reciprocity, partly. People feel a natural urge to respond when given space. Also, feeling truly heard makes people more open and willing to share.
Makes sense. The takeaway then. Listen deeply. Let silence draw out truths people won't volunteer.
That's a great summary.
So those are the 7. Under-promise, over-deliver. Build relationships first. Manage energy, not just time. Lead with questions. Embrace micro-failures. Guard your reputation. And listen more than you speak.
Taken together, they really form a powerful toolkit for navigating, well, life and work more effectively.
It's quite a list. As we wrap up, maybe a question for our listeners. Which one of these rules really jumped out at you today?
Yeah. Which one resonates most right now, and maybe why? What feels most relevant to your current situation?
And perhaps think about, what's one tiny step you could take, maybe tomorrow, to start putting just one of these into practice?
Even a small conscious effort can start building that muscle.
Definitely. Because mastering these kinds of unspoken dynamics, it's not a one-time thing, is it?
Not at all. It's an ongoing process. Always more to learn, always room to refine how we interact and operate.
A constant journey of observation and adaptation. Thanks for digging into this with me.
My pleasure. Really important stuff.